Say no to privilege on privilege crime. A look at hypocrisy, profit, and society's fractured morals. Let's begin with a question highlighting an uncomfortable truth. Does anyone deserve to experience misfortune, even if their actions seem contradictory or harmful? Imagine a conservative audience listening to someone say, "How can the left support normalizing prostitution to young children by inviting drag queens, who are essentially sex workers, to read to them?" Such a statement would likely spark a standing ovation and loud applause. For many, it exposes what they see as a glaring inconsistency on the left. The contradiction between advocating for the protection of children while endorsing events that blur boundaries between adult themes and childhood innocence. In this case, the outrage isn't necessarily directed at the individuals involved, but at the ideological hypocrisy many believe exists. The contradiction seems indefensible for those who aren't predisposed to support these events. The moral inconsistency fuels their sense that something is wrong and that principles are sacrificed for performative inclusivity. Flipping the perspective, hypocrisy on the right. Now let's turn the tables. Imagine a scenario where someone who is pro-life stands before the same conservative audience and says, "How can we defend a CEO whose job is to protect life, yet who causes harm by denying people the benefits they paid for, all while making huge profits? I wouldn't shed a tear for that man." If this was said in front of a left-wing audience, it would likely be met with a standing ovation. Why? Because to them this highlights the hypocrisy of those who claim to value life but support a system where profit is prioritized over human well-being. This situation mirrors the drag queen story hour controversy. The core issue is the same in both cases, a perceived violation of fundamental values. On the left, there's frustration with a healthcare system that seems to betray the idea of protecting life. On the right, there's outrage at what they see as the inappropriate exposure of children to adult themes. These contradictions deepen the distrust and anger among ordinary people who feel their leaders no longer represent their values. The murder of Brian Thompson, a case of privilege on privilege crime. This brings us to the tragic recent event in New York, the murder of Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare. The alleged killer, Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old University of Pennsylvania graduate, was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Mangione's motives remain a topic of speculation, with two primary possibilities emerging. One potential motive is rooted in left-wing ideology. Mangione's handwritten manifesto reportedly criticized the healthcare industry and its role in denying benefits to those in need. From this perspective, his act of violence was driven by frustration over the injustices he saw within a profit-driven healthcare system. The idea that a wealthy CEO could profit while people suffer and die due to denied claims could, for some, represent a profound moral failing. The second potential motive relates to Mangione's pro-life upbringing. If he was raised in an environment that genuinely valued the sanctity of life, his anger towards Thompson might have stemmed from the belief that denying healthcare benefits led to preventable deaths. From this standpoint, his frustration, while expressed in a tragic and indefensible way, can be understood as a reaction to what he perceived as a betrayal of life's value. Regardless of the motive, this act represents what could be termed wealth-on-wealth crime, a conflict where those from privileged backgrounds turn against each other due to ideological divides. It's a stark reminder that moral contradictions can fester into dangerous actions when they are left unresolved. The underlying driver in both the drag queen controversy and the healthcare debate is profit. This relentless pursuit of financial gain influences cultural and ethical decisions on both the left and the right. For the left, the push for inclusivity sometimes seems motivated more by corporate interests and performative activism than genuine social good. For the right, the commitment to protecting life often seems undermined by a healthcare system that prioritizes profits over people. These contradictions are eroding trust in leadership on both sides. When people feel their values are being compromised and their leaders serve profit rather than principle, they lose faith. This loss of faith can drive individuals to take matters into their own hands, which is a dangerous threshold for any society to cross. It signals a collapse in the moral authority that holds society together. This raises a crucial question: is profit the only measure of what is good? When over 40% of corporate profits are funneled overseas, it's fair to ask whether this relentless pursuit of profit benefits the society that generates it. Can a system that places profit above all else still uphold the ethical and moral foundations necessary for stability and trust? It might be time to rethink how we define success and value. Profit undoubtedly drives innovation and economic growth, but if it comes at the cost of cultural stability, public trust, and moral integrity, it can destabilize the very systems we rely on. The key to restoring faith in society may be balancing profit with ethical responsibility and social well-being. Leaders in business, politics, or culture need to recognize this balance. Rewarding hard work and innovation is essential, but it should not come at the expense of societal trust and moral consistency. If we continue to let profit dictate every cultural and ethical decision, the contradictions will only deepen, leading to more frustration, distrust, and potentially destructive actions. We must say no to privilege on privilege crime and address the moral breakdown on both sides of the political spectrum. Recognizing these contradictions and balancing profit with ethical responsibility may be the only way to prevent further societal decay. Whether it's the controversy over drag queen story hours or the frustration with profit-driven healthcare, the underlying issue is the same. A system that places profit above principles is bound to fail. By restoring ethical balance, we can rebuild trust, reduce hypocrisy, and create a society that serves the well-being of all its members.